Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Carrie Linklater. I am your chairperson this afternoon, and I'm joined on the panel by Mr. Narinder Danjal and Ms. Valerie Werhan. Our city assessor this afternoon is Ms. Karine Dirakane and Mr. Jason Brown. Our administrative personnel is Ms. Nicole Carnegie. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparison of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. And as information, all live public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. This afternoon, we will be hearing items 1 and 3 and 5 through 8 on our docket. And Ms. Carnegie, would you please affirm the assessor and the applicant's testimony?
Yes, thank you. Madame Assessor, please state your Madame Assessor, please state your full name.
Karine Dirakane.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Brown, please state your full name.
Jason Brown.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. McCubbin, please state your full name.
Howard Lindsay McCubbin.
Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brown and Ms. Dirakane and Mr. McCubbin. And we are going to start with 1350 Pacific Avenue. And whenever you are ready, Ms. Assessor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is file number 22-3211, roll number 13060463300. Address is 1350 Pacific Avenue. We are defending the assessed value of $4,641,000 for the 2023 roll year based on the reference date of April 1st, 2021. It contains 2 buildings with 1 story. The overall year built is 1999. It contains wall height of 24 to 40 feet with a leasable area of 35,059 square feet. The land to plan area is 4.18. I'll turn your attention to page 3. We have provided a few map views to show its location. It's off of McPhillip Street or Notre Dame Avenue. Some aerial views are located on page 4 and 5, with some exterior photos on page 5 and 6. On page 7 is our income workup, showing the one premise with a leasable area of 35,059 square feet, with a rent of $10.64 per square foot, providing a potential gross income of $373,028. We've reduced that by a vacancy loss of 6.50%, plus expenses at 3%, with a shortfall at $3.85 per square feet. This gives us a net operating income of $329,544. We've capitalized that at 7.10%, in which generates our capitalized value of $4,641,465, which rounding up to our value, or rounding down rather, to our final value of $4,641,000. On page 8 are some rent comparables. These are actual net rents from the market, which is what our model is based off of. We've provided 5 rent comparables with lease terms with a range from 3 to 10 years, lease area of 30,020 to 40,000 square feet, wall height range of 14 to 31 feet, year built 1982 to 2014, and net rent range of $9.49 to $13.55 per square foot. On page 9 are our cap rates, with the industrial portion highlighted, with 5.55 at the 20th percentile and 7.45 at the 80th percentile. The subject's cap rate falls within this range, as well as supported by the outside sources. We've provided a permit on page 11 that describes some canopies that were installed at the front of the building. Page 12 are descriptions of the property, and following are some amenities. This is a specialized building intended for filming productions, in which you'll see with the interior photos on page 15 all the way to 26. Page 27 to 32 is the income and expense questionnaire completed by the owner, and it indicates gross rents and some vacancy due to the pandemic. Based on this evidence, we ask that the assessed value of $4,641,000 to be confirmed. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Mr. McCubbin, do you have questions?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. With respect to your rent comparisons on page 8, which would you say is your best comparison?
First one. Probably the first one.
The first one, okay. Ready. And that's on Day Street in Transcona, correct?
Correct.
Now, in regards to your income summary on page 7, I've noticed that it was not broken out because you would agree that there is a second story leasable area in this property, right?
Are you referring to the,
3,750 on your brief?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
noticed it on your brief?
Right.
Have it broken down, no.
Right. So the property was assessed based on a leasable area in totality of $35,059 at 1064 square foot overall. So there was no breakdown with respect to the upper floor.
Is the upper floor a mezzanine?
Pardon me? The upper floor is where you would have the kitchen area and some offices and.
So it's not below standard. It's not below standard finishes or anything like that.
No, it's finished area. It's finished area. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like on page 13 there is a little breakdown of the facility floor plan with showing some mezzanine and some second floor level.
Right. Okay. Those are all the questions I have, Madam Chair.
Mr. Danjel, did you have any questions to the assessor?
Just in reference to the overall capitalization cap at 7.10, just to clarify that is the market value or just a comparison?
So that cap rate's based on a model that analyzes all the sales of industrial buildings that we've deemed to be bona fide sales. So those sales would go into a model, and then we would use an NOI, a generated NOI, to develop cap rates for those sales, and then using the parameters, we would apply a cap rate to the subject property using those sales.
That's the only question I had. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Warehan, questions?
No, I'm good for now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I just have a couple. So your brief is model driven.
Correct.
Page 7, your workup, that's all model.
Correct.
Okay. Did you have a chance to inspect the property?
No, we have not.
I've been in the building. It's been quite some time, probably at least 10 years ago, but the department has been in the building since then.
Okay. Can you speak to the condition?
It's this is a pretty high-end building. It's high-end finishes. It's obviously purpose-built for filming movies. So they have, amenities that you wouldn't normally see in an industrial building, things like sound stages, or if you go through the pictures, they have things like hair and makeup places, a green room, a dye room, dressing rooms. They have a full cafeteria and then a studio and stuff like that. So not your typical storage warehouse. I'd say the finishes are much higher than the standard storage warehouse.
So on page 8 with your rent comparables.
Yeah.
Those are all standard warehouses, I'm assuming?
I mean, judging from the high rents, those would all be high-end finished industrial places too, most likely including office space and but not it wouldn't be a typical storage warehouse, no, those ones.
Okay, but none of them would be purpose-built, such as the subject, correct?
No, I mean, it could be purpose-built for other purposes, but not for the same purpose as the subject.
Okay. Just in regards to your permit that you referenced, and this was a canopy over the front door?
Correct. Yeah.
Just in front of it.
Yeah, probably not a lot of added value there, but just showing that they are maintaining the building.
Right, thank you. Mr. McCubbin, whenever you would like to proceed.
Okay, thanks, Madam Chair. If I can get you to turn your attention to page 2 of my presentation, please. The property owner is Manitoba Centennial Center Corporation as the tenant. The property address is 1350 Pacific Avenue. You have the roll number at 13-0604-63-300. As the assessor said, it was constructed in 2 phases, 1998 and 2003, with an adjusted age of 1999. So it's a 1-story building plus mezzanine. The plan here is 31,309 square feet. So there's the gross floor area, leasable area being 35,059 square feet. That would make the mezzanine area 3,750 square feet, and it's finished. The site size is 3 acres, and we're asking for a reduction to $3,052,000. If I can turn your attention, please. Page 6 of my presentation. I'm going to read a little bit verbatim from this page. The subject property can best be described as an industrial office warehouse building. It does have significant improvements with respect to it being a studio today, but it can be easily converted back into a warehouse. It looks like a warehouse. I believe it was not specifically built for this, but there were I guess I would say amenities added to the structure after construction with respect to electrical servicing and the different specific areas which are climate controlled throughout the building. There is also a fire dampening system in there that's fairly sophisticated because they would have fires in there that they would have to put out. So that's all part of the building. The studio itself is 100 by 150 foot area, and it's clear span. That meaning there's no obstruction within that area. The features reinforced concrete floor and a 2400 amp 3-phase electrical servicing. And the entire building is climate controlled, as I've said. The addition houses a 3,500 square foot cafeteria, offices, and a loading dock with 4 18-foot grade level doors. It's rectangular in shape, referencing the lot itself, with a total size of 131,014 square feet, and it's zoned M2. So it's a typical sort of land to building ratio for an industrial setting in this area, at 4.18 to 1. The highest and best use is the continuance of its current use. Okay, so if I can turn your attention, Madam Chair, to page 12 of my presentation. For the purpose of this report, a leasable area of 35,059 square feet is used. The same is applied by the City of Winnipeg Assessment and Taxation Department. The subject property has been valued by the Assessment and Taxation Department with a blended April 1st, 2021 market rent of $10.64 per square foot. And when I say blended, is I asked the question, Madam Chair, in regards to the upper areas. I was told that this one rate was used for the entire building, but anyway, we would view that as a blended rate because we generally break out the mezzanine area from the main floor area. The subject property was leased as of April 1st, 2021. market research for comparable rents was undertaken and the following comparisons were found. Now, these comparisons are in the general vicinity of the subject property, and they're around the same general leasable area, but these are in fact straight warehouses. So some adjustment would have to be made to the rent to bring it up to what would be comparable to the subject property. They're all of similar zoning with you can see the property index on Keewatin, number 2, number 6, 7, and 8, all being of higher ceiling heights, comparable to the subject. So we have an average of 604 and a median 631. With consideration given to the above, a rental rate of $825 we feel is appropriate and fair for the April 1st, 2021 market value for the main floor area, and approximately half or $4 per square foot should be applied to the upper mezzanine area, which is in fact just a mezzanine area. It is finished, but it has half the ceiling height of what you would have on the main floor, but nevertheless finished. So we'll be using in our valuation $825 for the main floor and $4 per square foot for the mezzanine area, which gives us an overall rate of $7.80 a square foot. Our total gross potential rent on a net basis of $273,299. For the balance of the valuation, we will apply the following vacancy and expense allowances. Vacancy, given its industrial space, it's more related to that. We're using a 6.5% vacancy allowance. And for the shortfall rate, we're using the City of Winnipeg Assessment and Taxation Department suggested shortfall rate of $3.85 for this type of property. For the purposes of this report also, with respect to non-recoverable expenses, we are continuing to apply an allowance of 7% in totality of effective gross income in our valuation of the subject. This allowance is based upon a standard allowance of 2% as a structural reserve and allowance of 5% as a stabilized allowance for non-recoverable expenses that arise in the competent management and operation of the property. And we would refer the board to the detailed submission attached to this brief, or that was submitted along with materials for this hearing, and I believe you're in possession of that. In regards to the capitalization rate, Altus have done a study of industrial capitalization rates in the City of Winnipeg, and on page 14 you will see an excerpt from that study, Madam Chair. For Class A properties, the band is around from 6% to 6.5% in terms of the capitalization rate. We believe that this property falls somewhere in the upper end of a Class B investment category at 7.5%. So we will be using 7.5% in relation to its investment category. So on page 15, applying what I've just discussed, Madam Chair, with respect to the net rent, 31,309 square feet at $825 will give you $258,299 square dollars. The mezzanine at $37.50 would be at $4 a square foot, gives you $15,000, and added together, that would be $273,299. The vacancy allowance is 6.5%, so we arrive at an effective net market income of $255,535. Applying a shortfall rate with respect to the vacant space allowance of 6.5%, shortfall rate of $3.85. An allowance for that expense is $87.74. That's $88,774. And instead of management, that should be non-recoverable expenses, or sometimes it's termed management, but it should be non-recoverable expenses at 5% of the effective market income. That would be $12,777, and for structural and other, it would be 2%, $5,111. So the total expense allowance is $26,661. Take that away from the effective market income, we arrive at a net operating income of $228,874. And applying the capitalization rate, as I've suggested, of 7.5%, we arrive at a value of $3,052,000 rounded, Madam Chair. And that gives us market value or square foot value based on the leasable area of $87.04. In my appendix, you will see photographs of the subject property starting on page 18. Rather high ceilings. You can see the staircase, the winding staircase on what should be page, I guess it's not numbered after that, but page after page 18, that staircase goes up to the mezzanine level. And you can see the cafeteria on the following page, and the loading doors situated behind the building. We also have the building section. I should number these pages, Madam Chair. 18. So after 18, we have 19. So commercial section detail is on page 21. On page 22 is the income summary by the assessment department. And starting on page 23 is the income and expense statements submitted by the owner. And so the first one is 12 months ending March the 31st of 2020. You can see the relative income, and you can also see the expenses. Now, maintenance and repairs, a significant amount of $42,530. That's above normal, but you can see the hydro is fairly significant, $34,163. Property management and administration is not. This is another pretty significant number, and the net income reported for that year is $33,168. So we would not focus on the expenses per se, because the expenses have more to do with the type of business or operation, and it's not typical of this type of property. Or typical of a warehouse, sorry. So there's zero vacancy. The owner reported for this year, fully rented for 12 months. Let me see. You can see on on 27, Madam Chair, page 27, we have the income and expense statements with respect to, that's the latest one submitted to the Assessment and Taxation Department. 12 months ending March 31st, 2021. You can see the total income of $211,435. Given production was shut down for that specific period, you can see that they reported a negative net operating income, and they report an average percent of vacant space being 21% for that period. They did fill out the supplemental questionnaire with respect to COVID-19 on the last, second to last page of my report. It shows that they said it had a significant impact on their operations. And they went on in the last page of my presentation to describe the sort of problems they had with this property. In particular, item 9, of any tenants abandoned or breached in terms of their leases as a direct result of COVID-19, it says no. However, when there were COVID-19 restrictions on the movie industry, we weren't able to enter into new movie shoot arrangements, resulting in a vacancy for several months. And that's my presentation, Madam Chair.
Madam Assessor, questions?
I have a couple. Thank you, Madam Chair. Have you been in the building, Mr. McCubbin?
No, I have not, Madam Chair.
Okay. You've chosen to use a rate for the mezzanine that's it's a little less than half of the main floor area. Typically, when we see rates as low as $4, that'd be, for like a storage mezzanine. Would you agree?
Typically, yeah, I would agree, yes.
Okay, and this is a higher level of finish than just a standard storage mezzanine?
We have in my experience, we'd use half of the rate of the main floor.
Okay. On your page 12, when you're showing your lease comparables,
right,
you've chosen a rate that's significantly higher than all of your comparables. Did you make some type of adjustment internally to those rates to get it up, or?
No, nothing of a nature where, Madam Chair, where I would be showing any calculations with respect to that adjustment. But we do recognize that this building is significantly better than my comparisons, and the median of my comparisons being 631. We felt a rate of approximately $2 per square foot over and above the comparisons was sufficient to allow for those differences in the subject property.
Okay, just one more. Thank you, Howard. You've shown 4 cap rate comparable sales on page 14. That's correct?
Correct.
And the cap rate you've chosen for the subject at 7.5 is higher than all but one of those. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And in your opinion, do you think the 3 properties with the lower cap rates, the 3 sales, are superior to the subject?
It's a good question. The cap rate that's essentially higher than the subject is the one on McPhillips.
Correct.
We feel, given its location, it should be at the upper end of Class B. And in our studies, we show that Class B would range, and I should mention the studies backed up by published statistics also that was done in Winnipeg. So the upper end of a Class B at 7.5. I'm not sure whether I'm answering your question.
I think that's a reasonable answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Burhan, did you have any questions?
No, my question was just answered on the cap rate. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mr. Danjel, any questions?
In reference to the comparisons on page number 12 there, are those comparisons are also finished or are they strictly just warehouses?
They're mostly just warehouses with, I would say, and I'm guessing now, Madam Chair, anywhere from probably 5 to 15% finished space in terms of office area. So very low finished space.
So currently the property at question is fully finished completely.
Well, yeah, well, I guess you have to look at what fully finished means. I mean, there are varying degrees of finishes in a building. For example, a washroom or washroom facilities would have a higher degree of finish in terms of value compared to, say, an office area because of what's in there in terms of fixtures. So we have to be careful when we look at what's finished. I mean, the vast majority of this building is open space too. The cafeteria is open area. Yes, it's finished, but rather it's finished in terms of warehouse. It would have a suspended ceiling, possibly tile floors and drywall surrounding it. So it depends on the degree of finish we have to look at. And of course, the studio is a big open area and drywalled around. So that could be termed finish, but as opposed to, say, the kitchen area or the washroom area, the degree of finish is much less substantial in terms of value.
Okay, can I ask my question? That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Mr. McCubbin, I just have one question. I guess it's more for clarification. You have stated that you think this property is a upper class B?
I would say so. Not an upper, I would say when you look at our cap rate on page 14, investment category class B. Now, I guess an investor, unless they were looking specifically for this type of building with all the attributes that are included in this building, I would say the cap rate may be less than 7.5. But we do have to look at this property as though an investor is looking at it from an investment perspective and what they can do with the building. Would it continue to be run as currently as a studio, or would it does have loading docks, or it does have the ability to be converted into a warehouse. We feel that the investment category is a class B, and the cap rate range would be on the higher end.
Would you happen to know how high the loading docks are, the doors on them? Are they standard size?
They look like they're standard size, Madam Chair. If you look at page 20 of my brief, you will see the 4 doors in the back there. They are not dock level, so that's it's a deficiency with respect to loading. Of warehouses, the preference is dock loading, so you come right up to the docks, whether it's interior or exterior, and you're able to smoothly transition from the truck bed into the building. These are grade level loading docks. There are 4 of them in the back of the building. Not sure whether that answers your question.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, I would just like to redirect to you for one question. On the I&E expense sent in by the applicant or by the owners, they're sort of stating that they had some vacancy in 2021. Was that taken into account in your brief?
We did look at that. However, the previous year was 0% vacancy, so we did allow 6.5 in this instance. If there would have been multiple years of vacancy and we could address it as chronic vacancy, then we'd start to adjust the model.
All right, I thank you. Do either of you have a wish for a summation on this property?
I'm good, Madam Chair.
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Right. We'll then move on to 1390 Pacific Avenue.
This is file number 22-3508, roll number 13060463200 for 1390 Pacific Avenue. We are making a recommendation of $5,900,000.
And that recommendation is based off
of rent.
Can you give further detail on that, please?
It's not in front of us, Madam Chair. I could run the calculations if you like.
Yes, if you could, if it's not going to take too long.
Okay. It's an overall rate of 7.92.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you, Mr. Brown.
It's an overall rate of 7.92 per square foot.
I thank you. Mr. McCubbin?
Thanks, Madam Chair. We agree with the recommended value subject to confirmation of instructions from the owner. We were unable to get that, but we do agree and we'll be directing the owner, suggesting to the owner to accept it.
Ms. Warehan, did you have any questions regarding this recommendation?
No, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Danjo, did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
All right. I thank you both. We will move on to 515 Waterfront Drive.
File number 22-3004, roll number 13091099000 for 515 Waterfront Drive. We would like to make a recommendation of $2,015,000.
And that is based on
Rent as well.
Mr. Brown, did you need to make another calculation?
That was reduced to 3.6. A blended rate.
I thank you. And Mr. McCubbin?
Thanks, Madam Chair. We agree with the recommended value subject to confirmation of instructions from the owner.
Thank you. Ms. Wareham, did you have any questions in regards to this recommendation?
No, I don't. Thank you.
And Mr. Danjol, did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
And just to reconfirm, that was 2,015,000.
Correct. 2,000,015, yeah.
I thank you. We will then move on to 515 Notre Dame.
File number 22-1200, roll number 13060127000 for 515 Notre Dame Avenue. We would like to make a recommendation of $1,989,000.
And that is based on,
Rent as well.
do you have this?
$4.30.
I'm sorry, $4?
And 30 cents, yes.
I thank you. Mr. McCubbin?
Madam Chair, we do agree with the recommended value, subject to confirmation of instructions from the owner.
And Ms. Wareham, did you have any questions in regards?
I don't, Madam Chair. Thank you.
And Mr. Danjol?
No, I don't either. Thank you.
Thank you. We will then move on to 1857 Notre Dame.
File number 22-1763, roll number 0709015150, address of 1857 Notre Dame Avenue. We are defending the assessed value of $1,974,000 for the 2023 roll year, based on the reference date of April 1st, 2021. It contains 3 buildings with stories, 1 to 2 stories. Overall year built is 1979. Wall height of 12 to 22 feet, with a leasable area of 20,215 square feet. Land to plan area is 2.75. On page 2, under subject property leases, it shows the one premise with a 2011 lease start, a 14-year term for the 20,169 square feet area, with a net rent of $6.25 per square foot. On page 3 and 4 are maps showing its location off Notre Dame Avenue near Keewatin Street, as well as the opposite side of St. James Street. Aerial views on page 5 and 6. Exterior photos on page 7 showing its loading bays. And on page 8 is our income workup showing the one premise with a leasable area of 20,215 square feet with a $8.90 per square foot, gives us our total of potential gross income of $165,561. We reduced that by a vacancy loss of 6.50%, plus expenses at 3%, with a shortfall at $3.85 per square foot. This gives us a net operating income of $145,097. We've capitalized that at 7.35%, in which generates our capitalized value of $1,974,109 and rounded to our final value of $1,974,000. On page 9 are some rent comparables. These are actual net rents from the market, which is what our model is based off of. We've provided 6 rent comparables with the lease term range of 2 years to 11 years, with the lease area range of 15,000 to 23,190 square feet. Average wall height of 15 to 20 feet. Effective year built of 1959 to 1989, plus net rent of $7.75 to $9.75 per square foot. On page 10 is our cap rates, and our industrial portion is highlighted. The city uses a range of 5.55 at the 20th percentile to 7.45 at the 80th percentile. The subject's cap rate falls between this range. A floor plan is provided on page 13. And the income and expense report is provided by the owner on page 17 and 18. Based on this evidence, we believe the assessed value of $1,974,000 to be fair and equitable, and ask for it to be confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McCubbin, did you have any questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Looking at the subject property on page 5 of your presentation, it's a rather long site, is it not? Long rectangular site, correct?
Correct.
Right. So in terms of flexibility of use, let me back up here a second. What is it? So the land to building ratio is 2.75 based on a plan area. Do you have the land to building ratios of the comparisons on page 9?
No, we don't.
Don't. What do you think would be your best comparison on page 9 for this property?
(1801) Sargent Avenue.
1801 Sargent Avenue, okay. With respect to, now I noticed you included as status of title in the brief. Registration dates in 2013. Does it have any relation to the value as it stands today, or is this just for information purposes?
It just shows the mortgage on page 15 at 6.3 million in 2013. Bit old, but obviously higher than the assessment today. But yeah, no, that's basically it.
Okay, so it just seems rather high compared to the value of the property even back in 2013. That's all.
I agree, and there was probably it was probably leveraged against something, or we don't know what was involved in that. So we're not putting any weight on that.
Okay, fair enough. Those are all the questions I have, Madam Chair.
Ms. Wareham, did you have any questions?
Not at this time, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Gangel?
Just in reference to the rent comparison on page number 9 there. So you were saying that the only property that's maybe comparable would be the Sargent property at 1801. Why would you say that?
Just based on size and age and location, I'd say Hutchings is probably a good comparable as well. The King Edward ones and the Century ones are a bit further away and a bit smaller, or a bit larger, sorry. But yeah, I'd say Hutchings and Sargent are the best two comparables.
And the rest of them, you don't feel that they should be really considered? Is that your opinion, or?
I just think the location's probably a little superior to the subject.
Okay, that's the only question I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you have a chance to inspect this property?
I have not inspected this property.
Right. And your brief is model driven, correct?
That's correct.
I thank you. That's all my questions. Mr. McCubbin, if you would like to proceed.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I can turn your attention to page 2 of my presentation, please. The property owner is Inlet Inc. The property address is 1857 Notre Dame Avenue. It has a 1979 effective age. The leasable area of the property is 20,215 square feet. And land area of 1 acre, 43,560 square feet. The reference year is 2020. Sorry, the reference date is April 1st, 2021. We're asking for an assessed value. The assessed value to be reduced to $1,319,000. On page 6 of my presentation, Madam Chair. The property is located at 1857 Notre Dame Avenue in the city of Winnipeg on the south side of Notre Dame between Bannatyne Avenue to the west and Becker Street to the west. It was built in 3 distinct sections, and you may be able to see that from the roof line on the photograph below. A 2-story masonry wall section with a plan area of 6,000 square feet and a mezzanine level of 4,200 square feet was constructed in 1973. A 1-story masonry wall structure with a plan area of 3,000 square feet was added in 76. And a 1-story metal frame structure was added in 1985, giving us the gross floor area as shown being 20,215. It does have a higher degree of finished space compared to industrial properties. So it's industrial properties would run anywhere from 5 to 15%. This is around 30%. It's being used by Manitoba Society Disabilities, I do believe. The subject site is rectangular in shape and is approximately 1 acre and zone C2 commercial. So it's on a commercially zoned piece of property. One can say it's less flexible in use than an industrial property. Industrial zoning generally has more flexibility in use. It allows for commercial use, but commercial zone property does not allow for industrial uses. The highest and best use is its continuance as it exists in its current use. On page 13 of my presentation, Madam Chair, we have a table with least comparable information, 9 of them in total, with square foot ranging very close to that of the subject property, with the largest building here being 24,762 square feet, and the smallest being 17,230 square feet on Durand. Now we have an average of $612 and a median of $6 with respect to those rents, and you can see their relative zoning and their land to building ratios, with the one on Dugo Road being substantially higher land to building ratio. With consideration given to the above, a rental rate of $6.25 per square foot is selected as fair for the property. So applying that to the area, leasable area of the property, we arrive at a gross potential income of $126,056. With respect to vacancy, we're classifying the subject properties in industrial space and using a 6.5% vacancy allowance. I believe we may differ. No, the assessment and taxation department is the same. So we're applying the same vacancy rate as the assessment department and the same shortfall rate of 385, treating it as an industrial, more of an industrial use. With respect to the non-recovered expenses, I'm not going to go through that. I think you're well aware of where we're coming from in regards to the 5 and 2 and a total of 7%. Capitalization rates are on page 15, Madam Chair. If you go to the bottom of that page, for the purpose of this report, the capitalization rate study shown in a separate report, and Altus Group Limited capitalization rate study for industrial properties, which I did submit, and we considered it that. We will be using a lower capitalization rate of 8%. I believe the city was using, or I should say a higher, that would be a higher capitalization rate than the city. 8%, the city used 7.35. It's 50 basis points, Madam Chair, higher than the upper age of the Class B in relation to our study, and in relation to its investment categories in industrial building. And for the reasons I mentioned before, it's not your typical sort of site when you're looking at loading. Industrial sites are generally more, if I could say, not as rectangular as this site, and they also are industrially zoned, which has more flexibility in use. And that's the reason we went 50 basis points above our Class B investment category for this property, placing a capitalization rate of 8%. So on page 16, you'll find my income summary, Madam Chair. The leased area is 20,169. The net market income, the net market rent is 625. I believe I noticed an error in my calculation, Madam Chair. Yes, I will stick with my vacancy allowance of 6%. Nevertheless, the intended was 6.5%, the same as the assessment and taxation part. However, have a 6% in my income summary, so I will remain with that. The shortfall rate is $3.85 in regards to that vacant space that we are atoning for, Madam Chair, and a non-recoverable expense of 5%, and other 2 is applied in the expense side of things, allowing for a total expense of $12,954 with a net operating income of $105,539 when that expense allowance is deducted from the effective market income. Applying a capitalization rate of 8%, we arrive at a value of $1,319,000 rounded, and I ask the board to reduce it to that amount. On page 19 of my brief, Madam Chair, it has the various sections of the building as I spoke about and when it was constructed. Page 20 shows some information from the Assessment and Taxation Department with respect to the assessed value and the size of the lot and the frontage measurement on the street itself on Notre Dame. On page 21, Madam Chair, this must have been corrected because that's the basis I was going on after in preparing my brief. And you can see where I had reduced the capitalization rate from 8.5 to 8. I'm not sure. Maybe the assessor can answer whether the assessed value was changed or I'm not sure. But you can see that the income summary that we have, Madam Chair, the capitalized value show 1,618,952, with an estimated market value of 1,085,000, which, and it didn't say any adjustments. Starting on page 22, Madam Chair, is the income and expense statements that was returned to the assessment department and included in the last 2 pages of my brief, page 31 and 32, is a supplemental questionnaire. It seemed to have no impact on the property, the COVID-19 situation. With respect to the months ending, 12 months ending December 31st, 2020, the reported rental income is 126,056, which is the same as we've used as our market income, or $6.25 per square foot. So we've used that net market rent. And that's my presentation. I'm open to questions.
Madam Assessor, did you have any questions for the applicant?
I have a couple. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. McCubbin, your rent of $625, is that based on comparables or is it just a coincidence that it's the actual rent of the property?
We looked at comparisons. If you look at page 13 of my brief, as I've said, we try to stick to a leasable area that's close to the subject property in terms of size. And you can see the age ranges there and their relative location. And everyone, with the exception of the one in Notre Dame, was industrially zoned. The only one in Notre Dame being similar zoning was at was at $625 a square foot. And that would be the subject property.
I wondered about that.
Yeah, that's the subject property, in fact. Yeah, sorry. So that we feel that the actual contract rent is supported by the market and it's fair and reasonable for this property, Madam Chair.
Mr. McCubbin, that lease was signed in 2011, is that correct?
I believe that was when the original lease was signed. That's correct.
I think you had mentioned in your presentation that this property might actually resemble more of a flex warehouse in its configuration and its finishing.
Sorry, if I can get back to your last question, please, Mr.
Sorry.
Brown.
Yeah.
With respect to, the original lease, Madam Chair, was signed in 2011, but there's been step ups, and the last step up was in October of 2023 to $6.25 per square foot. So there has been periodic step ups in this lease.
Okay, based on that, do you know what the rent was before the step up? Because our
No.
indications were that that was the rent signed in 2011, as per your page 29.
Yeah, I don't have that here. It shows but it shows that there's been step ups on this property. But I apologize, I don't have any more details with respect to leases here.
Okay,
With the
sorry. Just moving on to the next question, you had indicated that this property might actually be configured more of a flex warehouse property in terms of its higher finishing and its configuration.
Yeah, it does have a higher degree of finish, Madam Chair, compared to possibly all of my comparisons at 30%. However, that's negated by I guess the type of site that it's on. It's an oblong, it's a long, narrow site, traditionally, or not traditionally, but generally sites that have an industrial use, significance would be more of tend to be more square in general, or at least less rectangular in size, for loading into get around the building itself. But it does have some flexibility of use. It's on a major drag.
You've chosen a cap rate of 8%, indicating that this is non-investment. Property is owned by Inlet, which is an investment and a development company. Is that not correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, but you're saying that this particular property is non-investment grade.
Well, I'm not saying it's a non-investment grade. I believe I said that it's a Class B, but we're looking at it sort of at the upper end of a Class B, and we're adding on 50 basis points more to the capitalization rate. It's definitely an investment grade property, to answer your question. But because of I guess the zoning, because of the way the property is situated on the land, and because of the shape of the land, these things contribute to less flexibility in use, so to speak, and compared to an industrial property.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you, Mr. McCubbin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Warehan, did you have any questions?
No, my question was just answered on the cap rate. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Danjal, any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McCubbin, did you happen to have a chance to inspect this property?
No, I did not, Madam Chair.
Okay. That is all my questions. I thank you. At this time, we are just, do either of you have a wish for a summation on this property?
Pardon me?
Sorry, do either of you have a wish for a summation on this property?
No, I don't wish to summarize, Madam Chair.
Mr. Brown?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. And at this time, we're just going to take a minute break. And I would like to call this meeting back to order, and we are going to move on to 615 Henry Avenue. And Madam Assessor, I believe we have a non-co-op on this property. So we will be.
Correct. I'll be handling the non-compliance arguments, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. Whenever you would like to proceed.
Thank you. This is filed number 22-3219. roll number 13096046500. Civic address is 615 Henry Avenue. Owned by NM Glacier Canada Corp. We're seeking burden of proof be placed on the applicant and the reduction be delayed a year under sections 53.3B and 54.3.2. If we turn to page 2 of my evidence, at the top we have the request for income information. We request income and expense information from the owner every year. We can see below that, we can see that this property sold on December 21st, 2018. Since then, we have received the 2018 mailer. We received the sales mailer in 2018, but we have not received the 2019, the 2020, or the 2021 mailers. Turning to page 28. This is the sales mailer that was returned by the owner when they purchased the property in December of 18. We can see that it had a due date of March 1st, 2019. It was filled out by Peter A. Kaplan Jr., who was the president of the New Mountain Capital .com was the email address. Turning to page 30. This is the envelope that the income and expense mailer was sent out in. We can see that it had, it was addressed to NM Glacier 2 Canada Corp, care of New Mountain Capital LLC at 787 7th Avenue, New York, New York, in the United States of America. Below that, we can see, this is taken from the internet. This is the address for New Mountain Capital LLC. We can see top left-hand corner, 787 7th Avenue on 49th Avenue. Or sorry, 7th Avenue. It looks like it's the 49th floor. On the envelope, we can see there's a tracking number in the top left-hand corner. The tracking number is EG028230896CA. If we turn to page 31, we can see that same tracking number in the top left-hand corner, EG028230896CA. And below that, we can see the mailing address for NM Glacier 2 Canada Corp. Once again, that's at 787 7th Avenue in New York, New York. Attached to this cover page is just the blank mailer that was sent out. This mailer had a due date of June 30th, 2021. However, we never received any correspondence back. Based on that information, we ask that non-compliance be placed on the owner. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McKevin, would you have any questions?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Was there a signature in regards to the registered mail?
There was not, and I believe that's because the mailing address was in the USA.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Warehan, did you have any questions?
None, thank you.
And Mr. Danjal?
Just one question. The internet snapshot that you have there for the New Mountain Capital LLC on page 30, the address says it's 49th floor, New York City, but the address on your mailing says 787 7th Avenue. So which address is the correct address?
Well, I would assume that, and this is just assumption, but 787 7th Avenue would be the address. They would be located on the 49th floor. But if a piece of mail went to that address with the subject for New Mountain Capital LLC, I'm assuming they would get it to the right unit. Some of those buildings have mail rooms and whatnot.
But you don't know.
I don't know.
Is it possible that this mail never arrived at all?
And this is the mailing address that was provided to us by the owners. They have provided us with other returns with the same mailing address. So, and they did get we assume they got the property tax bill because that was what was triggering this appeal too. So knowing that they returned the 2018 INE and the 2018 sales mailer, I would say that kind of proves that the address is correct. Or they have gotten it in the past.
But no evidence whatsoever.
Well, just the evidence that we've received return mailers before from the same owner.
Okay, but nothing in reference to that time era, June 9th, 2021.
All we have is them is the income and expense, or the blank mailer and the tracking number with the envelope, and the fact that this is the address that we were given when they purchased the property in 2018.
Okay, that's the only questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, so you're stating then that the new owners gave you this address?
That's correct.
Who gave the city the address? Okay, and did they state implicitly that this was the mailing address?
I can pull that up.
So I'm just wondering if you received correspondence of this to speak to this.
Correspondence in regards to what?
In regards to the address. Because
I'm just looking that up right now.
all right, thank you.
No, we have no notes regarding the address. This would have been registered at the time of the sale, and it has not been asked to change since then.
Okay. Do you know if they're paying their tax bill?
That I can check.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
Okay, and is the address on their tax bill the same?
Yes. It is 787 7th Avenue.
Does
On
it?
the tax bill.
Thank you. Does it say the floor also?
It does not.
Okay, I thank you. That is all my questions. Mr. McCubbin, would you like to present anything?
Madam Chair, we have been trying to contact the owner in regards to their lack of submission, but so far we haven't been able to. So
Right.
that's the only thing I can see right now.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, did you have any questions for Mr. McGovern in regards to this?
I do not, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Warehan?
No, thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Danjo?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. I also have no questions. I will just take a short recess at this time to make a decision regarding this. Thank you. I would like to call this meeting back to order, and the non-co-op has been granted to the city.
Oh,
Thanks, Madam Chair. I would like to ask this.
sorry to interrupt, Mr.
Sorry.
McCubbin. We're just still waiting for the assessors to, like, it's spinning, so they're
Oh,
not
oh,
quite
sorry.
in yet.
That's right, they're not on this. There they are. I would like to call this meeting back to order. And we are granting the non-co-op to the city. And Mr. McCubbin?
Madam Chair, I'd ask that the value be confirmed at this point in time, so we can get a hold of the owners and sort this out. Thank you very much.
Mr. Brown, did you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Ms. Warehan, did you have any questions?
None, thank you.
And Mr. Danjal?
None, thank you.
Thank you. I also have no questions, just. We will proceed next to 58 Weston Street. And I see we also have a non-co-op on this property.
That's correct.
If you would like to proceed, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is file number 22-1361, roll number 1306231 quadruple 0. Civic address is 58 Weston Street. Owner is Breet Holdings Limited, or Breet Weston Street Holdings Limited. On page 2 of my evidence, at the top, once again, we have the request for income information, and below that we have the subject sale history. So once again, this one sold in 2016 in January. Since that time, we have received the 2017 and 18 returns, but we have not received the 2019 or 2020 returns. If we can turn to page 14. Page 14 shows the application for the file that we are hearing today. I'll note the address on the application is 3030 Gilmore Division, Burnaby, British Columbia. Page 15 shows the Canada Post mail tracking. This is item number LP 578617324CA. Was delivered on June 10th, 2021, and there was no signature available at the time. Turning to page 16, once again, that same tracking number at the top left-hand corner. This just shows it was delivered to Burnaby, BC on June 10th, just after 10 a.m. And then following that on page 17, once again, top left-hand corner, we have that same tracking number, LP 578617324CA. And below that, we have the mailing address for that same registered owner at 3030 Gilmore Drive, Burnaby, BC. The following pages are simply the blank income and expense statements that were not returned to the city. And based on that, we ask that non-cooperation be granted. Thank you.
I thank you. Mr. McCubbin, did you have questions?
Yes, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Brown, on page 15, generally, when the letter is delivered, there's usually a signature.
Pre-COVID, there was usually a signature. However, this cycle, due to the pandemic, we have not been seeing many signatures.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Those are all the questions I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Warehan, did you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And Mr. Danjal, did you have any questions?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Again, Mr. Brown, is the tax bill being paid?
a look. Yes. Payment has been made.
I'm sorry?
Payment has been made for their taxes.
So they've paid the taxes, and does it have an address on it?
Same address, Madam Chair.
Okay. And it is 3030 Gilmore Diversion.
Yeah, it just says Divers on ours.
Okay.
But yeah, diversion on the application, correct?
All right. And this property was sold in, sorry, I'm just going back up on your brief.
January 16, I believe.
Right. So it's just been since the new owner, correct?
Correct. We wouldn't use the old owner's returns against them.
I thank you. Mr. McCubbin, did you have anything you wish to present on this?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. We will then take a quick break to talk about this.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to call this meeting back to order, and we are granting the non-co-op to the city. So, Mr. McCubbin.
Madam Chair, we have a recommendation, if we may.
Oh, all right, proceed.
Okay, the city would like to make a recommendation to $2,859,000.
And that is based on,
Reduction in rent to $625.
thank you, Mr. McCubbin.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks very much for that recommendation. Under different circumstances, I would have more than likely accepted it, but since we have no contact with this owner, I'd like to get instructions with respect to the deferral. And so at this point in time, I'll ask the board to confirm the assessed value of the property, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Brown, did you have any questions in regards to this?
I do not. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Warehan
None, Madam Chair, thank you.
and Mr. Danjal, did you have any questions?
No, I don't.
And neither do I. So all the items have been heard on the docket this afternoon, and this hearing is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And I would like to thank you, Mr. Brown, and you, Ms. De Rocanay, for your presentations this afternoon. And your time and patience, and also you, Mr. McCubbin. Thank you for your briefs.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. McCubbin, and thank you, panel members and secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Have a good day, too.